Hello everyone, welcome to the session. I am Srinivas, Assistant Professor of Physics, NG College, Nalgonda. Today we are going to talk about a new lesson, that is mechanics of a rigid body. So we know that here materials are classified into different types: solids, liquids and gases. Okay, you know that what are the differences between them? In solids, the distance in solids, the particles are arranged together, they are in contact with each other, and the distance between the particles are same. Whereas in case of liquids, the distance between the particles are more comparing to the solids, and there is no certain same distance between the particles. Random distances are there. If we come to the gases, so we know that particles are arranged randomly. There is no particular direction. So the distance between the any two particles is varied from different particles. Okay. Now again, if you see the solids are also classified into different types. Rigid body is there. One example for this one is rigid body. For example, if you take plastic, it is a solid, right? It's not a rigid body. It's not a rigid body. If we take iron, comparing to plastic, it is a strong rigid body. And if you take diamond, it is very strong element on the earth, right? It is very strong element on the earth. So comparing to the iron, the diamond is much stronger, right? We know very well. So what is the difference between them? Why we called diamond is stronger than the iron or anything else? See here, which body is strong, which body is not strong, which body is weak. How can we explain? What are the limits to explain which one is stronger and which one is weaker? See, if a person is strong, means if you apply any force on him, if he is not able to move certain distance, then we can say that he is a strong person. If we pull him or if we push him, he may be moved immediately. That person is not a strong person. So similarly, strong mind, weaker mind. What is strong mind? If any problems come, he is able to face that problems, he is able to solve that problems. Right. So sometimes we call this person is a rigid person. So how can we say he is a rigid person? Because if we say anything, there is no change in his mind, then we can say that he is a rigid person. So observing all these things, how can we define a rigid body? See there, a body which doesn't undergo any change in shape or size by the application of external force is called a rigid body. A body which doesn't undergo any change in shape or size by the application of external force is called a rigid body. If you take plastic, if you apply the external force, it may break down, right? But if you take diamond, if you apply external force, no change will take place because it is a rigid body. See few points about rigid body. It is a system of several particles, right? Rigid body is a system of several particles. It comprises of several particles, right? Next point is the relative distance between any two particles. The relative distance means the distance between the two particles will remain same and do not change under the action of external force. See, if you take plastic material, if you apply the external force, it may be distorted, right? Distorted. But if you take any iron material, if you apply external force with our hands, no change takes place inside the iron material because it is very strong comparing to the plastic. So it is a rigid one, right? So even though if you are applying external force, if there is no change between the there is no change of relative distance between the two particles, so that material is called rigid body. Next, a rigid body has 6 degrees of freedom. See, there actually 9, but 3 of them are constraints are there. If you take 3 particles, each particle possesses 3 degrees of freedom in space. But if we take the 3 particles together and 3 constraints are there, and finally we have 6 degrees of freedom, hence exhibit all varieties of motion. A rigid body exhibit translatory motion. You know that what is translatory motion? So motion in a straight line, in a straight path. Rotatory motion, you know that what is rotatory motion? Rotating about a fixed point. And the rolling motion, let us see what is rolling motion. Okay, rolling motion. See, if we throw the ball, on the floor, see, that is what rolling motion. That means it consists of translatory and rotational motion. Okay. And the next point is it may have both rotational and translation motion simultaneously, right? So it may have both rotational and translatory motion. Let us say types of motions. So how many types of motions are there? Translational, translatory motion and rotatory motion. Let us see, first one is translatory motion. A rigid body performs a pure translatory motion if each particle of the body undergoes the same displacement in the same direction in given time interval. See there, if you take a body, if it is traveling along a straight path, if it is moving along a straight path, its motion is along a straight path, what happens? All the particle lies inside the body. All the particles lies inside the body undergoes the same displacement in the same direction any given interval of time. For example, at particular time the distance between the two particles is same, and after time, after it moves from one place to another place, if you observe the distance between the 2 points is same. So that means that is what a translatory motion. Especially in this motion there is no change of distance between the two particles and the body undergoes the same displacement in the same direction at any given time interval. Okay, right. Next, let us see what is pure rotatory motion. See there, a rigid body performs a pure rotational motion if every particle of body moves in a circle and center of the all circles lies on a straight line called the axis of rotation. See there, what is pure rotational motion? Here a rigid body performs a pure rotational motion if every particle of the body moves in a circle and the center of all circles lies on a straight line called the axis of rotation. See there in the picture, it is very obvious that I am taking a rigid body. So I am considering two particles P1 and P2. See there in the picture. And the center, now the P1 circulating, it is in circular motion, and P2 also in circular motion with radius R2, and here P1 also in circular motion with radius R1, whose centers are, see there, C1, C2 are the centers, right? Now see there, then the center of path of P1 is C1, which lies on the z axis. See there, particles are revolving, rotating rotating about a z-axis, in anti-clockwise direction, See there, then the centers of that circles are lies exactly on the z-axis. That is what axis of rotation, where z is what axis of rotation. So there is no change in its centers. They are stable, they are on the z-axis, and p1 p2 are rotating about a z-axis, center of axis. So this is the pure rotational motion what I have given, shown in the picture. See here, O is the origin and xyz axis are there. So if you observe this picture, you can understand verily what is pure rotational motion. Now, types of motion. Now, if you see types of motion here, first one is a square shaped body slides on an inclined plane. Its motion is purely translational. See there in the picture, what I am taking here, I am taking inclined plane. I am putting a square shaped object on the plane. So what happened? It slowly slides down. Therefore, its motion is purely translational motion. There is no rotatory motion for this object. It is slowly sliding down, right? So this is the example for translatory motion. Now, if you see here, the motion of flywheel fixed position is only rotational. Flywheel, and especially the degree first year, we have one experiment, flywheel experiment is there, right? Here I have shown you joint wheel. See, I have shown you joint wheel. So at center of joint wheel is fixed. See, that wheel is rotating about the center. So fixed center is there, right? So it is what pure rotational motion. This is example for pure rotational motion, where the which is rotating about its own axis. It is rotating about its own axis. So this is the example of pure rotatory motion. If we see next one, when spheres, third one, see there. So it comprises of two motions. One is translatory and the second one is rotatory motion. And when spheres rolls on the inclined plane, it slides as well as rotates, and thus its motion is a combination of two types of motion, translatory motion and rotatory motion. If we place, what I am doing, I am placing a sphere on the inclined plane. Now it is coming downwards direction, and also it has translatory motion in the inclined direction, and also it is rotating about its fixed axis. So this is example for the combination of two types of motions, rolling motion and translatory motion. Now let us see few things in this case. What is angular displacement? See, the displacement we can measure especially in translatory motion, the distance which is traveled from one place to another place. Now here we're going to see angular displacement. So when we want to measure angular displacement, if a body is rotating about a fixed point, then we can measure angular displacement of that body. See here, angular displacement is defined as the angle through which an object moves on a circular path, right? Angular displacement is defined as angle through which an object moves on a circular path. It is the angle which is in radians between the initial and final position. See that Tf minus Ti. Ti is the initial place of the object when it is rotating about a circular path, and Tf is the final position of the object. Now the angular displacement can be measured. Theta is equal to S by R, right? So theta is equal to S by R. What is S? The distance traveled by the object on the circular path, S, and what is R? Radius of the circular path, radius of the circle. Okay, so now the angular displacement can be taken as theta is equal to S by R. Theta is equal to S by R, where we can simply explain that one. Okay, see here how can we define. Here I am taking circular path. Now I am assuming one point here. This is the center of the circle. Now one body is moving. Assume this is P1 body is moving on the circular path. Now the radius of the circle is what? R. I am taking the radius of circle is small r. Now this body is initially, so let us assume here it has how much angle, theta I angle is there, right? Theta I angle is there. Now this body is moving from one point to another point. Let us assume this is point at a point P1. Point, here a body is at A. Now it is moving from here to here. Here I am assuming P2, right? P2, right? The distance which traveled from P1 to P2 is how much? It makes an angle with the x-axis is T2, right? T2. Now T2. See here, and how much angular distance it traveled? Tf minus Ti, right? How much distance it traveled? Let us, the distance from P1 to P2 is S, right? P1 to P2 S. Now the total angular displacement of the object can be measured. Theta is equal to distance traveled by the object from P1 to P2 is S, and the radius of the circle is what? R. Then the angular displacement theta is equal to S by R. The angular displacement theta is equal to S by R. So this is all about the angular displacement formula. Right, now let us see next one. So angular velocity. See, what is angular velocity? What is generally velocity? If the body is moving from one place to another place which is in translatory motion, whose velocity can be defined as rate of change of displacement, right? The displacement per time, the total displacement per time. For example, body is moving from one place to another place, one point to another point. The total distance which is traveled by the time can be defined as velocity. Rate of change of displacement is called velocity. It is a vector quantity, we know very well. And here how can we define angular velocity? The rate of change of angular displacement is called angular velocity, which is represented by W or omega, whatever it is. The rate of change of angular displacement is called angular velocity. See, the angular velocity is a measure of how quickly an object moves through an angle. Angular velocity is a measure of how quickly an object moves through an angle. It is the change in angle of a moving object measured in radians divided by time, right? Radians per second, right? So angular velocity has a magnitude and a direction, right? It is also a vector quantity. It has magnitude as well as direction. That is why it is called vector quantity. Angular velocity can be defined as final angle minus initial angle by a time taken to travel from one angle to another angle, or that one also defined as change in position by time. So change in position per given time. So the mathematical formula is omega is equal to Tf minus Ti by small t. What is Tf? Where Tf is nothing but final angular displacement and Ti is initial displacement of the object on the circular path, and the time t is what? Time taken to move from Ti to Tf. Okay, now the instantaneous angular velocity, the velocity at any point of time. The angular velocity at any point of time can be defined as instantaneous angular velocity. So that can be written as dw is equal to d theta by dt, where what is omega? Angular velocity. What is Tf? Final angle. What is Ti? The initial angle. What is T? Time taken to travel from one place to another place. And what is delta T here? Delta T is but nothing but short form for the change in angle. This is all about angular velocity formula. And in the picture, if you see this picture, you can understand very well. Here what happened in the picture, see, one object is here. What I am taking initially, object is at P1. Let us assume on circle path, what I am assuming a particle which is initially at position P, right? P T1, that is, it makes an angle theta 1 with the x-axis, right? So after certain time, within t2 seconds, it moved from one place to another place. So that means it is makes angular displacement theta 2 with the x-axis. Now the difference between these two, the angular displacement between these two positions can be what? Delta t is there. See, this is what? Delta t. So now we know that the radius of this one is t r1 and this is what r2, but actually radius is same because it is on the circular path. We don't take r2 r1, which is r. Now the distance traveled by the object is how much? S. If we take S, the distance traveled by the object is that S, then that angular velocity can be defined as d omega is equal the distance traveled S by total time taken to travel from here to here is t, right? And then finally we'll write d omega is equal to delta t by delta t, right? Change in angular momentum by change in time or given time, right? Next, let us move on to angular acceleration formula. What is acceleration generally? What is linear acceleration? How can we define linear acceleration? If the body is moving in the straight path, if the body is moving on the straight path, how can we define angular acceleration, general acceleration? Rate of change of velocity. Generally, velocity can be defined as rate of change of displacement. But linear acceleration can be defined as rate of change of velocity, right? Now, angular acceleration. So how can we define angular acceleration? The rate of change of angular velocity is called angular acceleration. See, the rate of change of angular velocity is called angular acceleration. The angular acceleration is a vector that points in a direction along the rotation axis. See there, the rate of change of angular velocity is called angular acceleration. The angular acceleration is a vector that points in a direction along the rotation axis, right? The magnitude of angular acceleration is given by the formula, and the units are, see there, radians per second square, right? Radians per second square. So the angular acceleration equal to change in angular velocity, change in time. Change in angular velocity by change in time. That one also written as final angular velocity minus initial angular velocity by final time minus initial time, difference of time. So here angular acceleration can be represented by alpha, where alpha is equal to d omega by dt, change in angular velocity by change in time. That can also be written as w2 minus w1 by t2 minus t1. See there, alpha is nothing but angular acceleration whose units are radians per second, and d omega is change in angular velocity, and well delta t is change in time, and where omega 1 is initial angular velocity and omega 2 is final angular velocity, where theta 1 theta 2 is given their initial time and final time. And then the instantaneous angular acceleration can be defined as alpha is equal to d omega by dt, where alpha is equal to d omega by t. These are the topics we covered today, and tomorrow in the next class, we are going to see what are the differences, what are the relations between angular velocity and linear velocity, and also angular acceleration, and also linear acceleration, and different things. We are going to see the components and the terms about rotational motion. Okay, so let us wait and see what are the relevant relations between angular and linear motions. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll stop today's class now.